Spencer Dutton is finally home, but at what cost? The long-awaited return of the war-hardened Dutton marks the beginning of a battle far deadlier than any he's ever faced. The Yellowstone Ranch is under siege, and Donald Whitfield is tightening his grip, ready to burn everything to the ground. As the dust settles from the explosive events of last season, the Duttons are left fighting not just for their land but for their very survival. Secrets will be exposed, and the war for Montana is about to begin. This is 1923, Season 2, Episode 1, and everything is about to change. Spencer's long, painful journey home has finally come to an end, but the man who left Montana all those years ago is not the same man who has returned. The war, the loss, and the betrayals have left deep scars, and the once carefree cowboy now carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. His reunion with the family isn't the heartwarming homecoming he had imagined. Jacob Dutton is still fighting for his life, Cara is struggling to hold the ranch together, and the Yellowstone is closer than ever to being ripped from their hands. But the real storm is waiting on the horizon. Donald Whitfield, the ruthless tycoon who has made it his mission to destroy the Duttons, isn't wasting any time. With the ranch's financial future hanging by a thread, Whitfield's next move is one of pure cruelty. He's increasing the pressure, using every legal and illegal method at his disposal to tighten his grip around the Yellowstone. As Spencer takes in the state of his family's home, he realizes that his return isn't just about reclaiming his place in the Dutton legacy, it's about waging a war that may cost them everything. Meanwhile, the power struggle within the family is reaching a boiling point. Jack Dutton, young and full of fire, sees Spencer's return as both a blessing and a challenge. He has spent the last year stepping up, proving himself as a man worthy of the Dutton name, and now, with Spencer back, tensions are brewing. Who will take the lead in defending the ranch? In these trying times, to whom will Jacob put his trust? As the Dutton brothers navigate their uneasy reunion, a much larger battle looms ahead. Whitfield's threats are no longer limited to words, rather, they are evolving into acts of violence. A new group of hired guns has arrived in Montana, men with no morals and no loyalty except to the highest bidder. They're targeting the Dutton ranch hands, intimidating, attacking, and slowly driving them away. The message is clear: Whitfield will do anything to break the Duttons, and Spencer's return has only increased his desire to stifle them before they can respond. But Spencer is no ordinary man. He has fought in wars, survived impossible odds, and lost more than most can imagine. He is not here to play Whitfield's games, he is here to end them. As the first shots of this new war are fired, the question remains: will Spencer's return save the Yellowstone, or will it be the final blow that destroys everything? The calm before the storm doesn't last long. Just as Spencer begins to settle back into the harsh reality of ranch life, Donald Whitfield strikes, and he strikes hard. This is now more than just a financial attack, it is a personal, brutal, and unrelenting assault. Whitfield knows that fear is the deadliest weapon, and now he's unleashing it on every inch of the Yellowstone. It starts with a fire, a grazing field set ablaze in the middle of the night, burning valuable acres to ash in a matter of hours. The flames rage under the dark Montana sky, a clear message from Whitfield that there are no limits to how far he'll go. The Duttons awaken to smoke and chaos, scrambling to save what little they can. Spencer, fresh from the battlefield, recognizes this attack for what it is: an act of war meant to break not just their land but their spirit. But Whitfield isn't finished. His next move cuts deeper, targeting the people who make the Yellowstone strong. Ranch hands are ambushed, beaten, and left bloodied as a reminder of what's coming. The fear spreads like wildfire. Workers begin to question whether staying loyal to the Duttons is worth risking their lives. Every attack is a calculated step designed to isolate the family, to weaken them from the inside out. This is Cara Dutton's darkest moment. The matriarch who has fought tooth and nail to hold the family together is now facing an enemy with endless resources and no conscience. The burden is crushing, but she refuses to let the ranch fall without a fight. Cara's quiet strength becomes the heart of the Duttons' resistance, even as her fear for Jacob's life weighs heavily on her. His recovery is slow, and with every passing day, their enemies grow bolder. And then there's Jack, young, angry, and dangerously impulsive. The attacks on their land ignite a fire within him that threatens to burn out of control. Jack wants revenge, plain and simple. He is prepared to pursue Whitfield's men and make them pay for the blood they have shed. But Spencer knows better. He's seen where that kind of blind rage leads, and he knows that reckless action could cost them everything. The tension between Spencer and Jack simmers just beneath the surface, setting the stage for an inevitable clash between experience and raw fury. Whitfield, always 2 steps ahead, isn't just relying on violence. He's digging into the Duttons' finances, exploiting every weakness, every unpaid debt, every loophole in the law. His reach is long, and even the local authorities are beginning to buckle under his influence. Corrupt officials look the other way as Whitfield's terror campaign intensifies. The message is clear: no one is coming to save the Duttons. But if there's one thing Whitfield has underestimated, it's Spencer's resilience. The man who faced death countless times overseas isn't about to let his family's legacy crumble without a fight. In order to prepare the Duttons for what is to come, Spencer begins to plan, drawing on his military experience. He knows this isn't just about land anymore, it's about survival. The ranch hands who remain loyal rally around Spencer, ready to defend their home no matter the cost. As the first battle lines are drawn, the Duttons prepare for a war unlike anything they've faced before. Spencer, Jack, Cara, each of them must confront their own fears, their own doubts, and find the strength to stand against an enemy who will stop at nothing. Whitfield's attack may have been ruthless, but it has awakened something even more dangerous: the unbreakable will of the Dutton family. As the smoke clears from Whitfield's brutal assault, a deeper storm brews inside Spencer Dutton, a battle not fought with fists or guns but with ghosts from his past. The scars of war, both seen and unseen, weigh heavily on him. Every gunshot, every loss, every decision made in the name of survival haunts his every step. The horrors he witnessed overseas aren't just memories, they're constant shadows that follow him, threatening to consume him when he needs clarity the most. Spencer knows the stakes. He understands that the fight for the Yellowstone isn't just a battle for land, it's a battle for identity, for legacy, for the very soul of his family. But the burden he carries makes every move feel heavier. At night, he wrestles with nightmares, visions of fallen comrades, of choices that cost men their lives. His waking hours are filled with these eerie memories, which cloud his judgment and fuel his anxiety about failing his family when they need him the most. Yet, beneath all that pain, there's something stronger, a fierce loyalty to the Dutton name and a fire that won't be extinguished. Spencer knows he's the last line of defense, the warrior his family needs. He must confront not only the upcoming physical conflict but also the internal emotional conflict, because he comes to the conclusion that Whitfield's attack was only the beginning. His return wasn't meant to be peaceful, it was always destined to be a reckoning. But while Spencer is trying to steel himself for what's coming, Whitfield isn't resting. He's digging deeper, tightening the noose around the Duttons. His influence stretches across Montana, corrupting politicians, buying off law enforcement, and swaying public opinion. People who once stood by the Dutton family are beginning to question their loyalty. Whitfield masterfully uses fear, which is a potent weapon. In a twisted power play, Whitfield targets the Duttons' allies, cutting off their support system one thread at a time. He spreads lies, whispers of weakness within the Yellowstone family, rumors that the once mighty Duttons are falling apart. And for a brief moment, it seems like those whispers might hold some truth. The cracks are beginning to show. Jack's reckless thirst for revenge, Cara's desperation to keep the family together, and Jacob's weakening health, it all feels like a slow unraveling. But Spencer won't allow it. Haunted though he may be, he begins to rise from the weight of his past. Every memory of loss becomes fuel for the fight ahead. He knows that strategy, discipline, and control are the keys to surviving a war like this. Spencer starts training the ranch hands, turning them into more than just workers. They become defenders of the land, each man ready to stand shoulder to shoulder when Whitfield comes knocking again. At the same time, Spencer steps into a leadership role he never wanted but now can't avoid. Jack, boiling with rage and hunger for vengeance, pushes for direct retaliation. He wants to meet violence with violence, but Spencer knows better. He understands that rushing into battle without a plan will only lead to more loss. The tension between the two men reaches a breaking point as Spencer tries to instill patience and strategy in Jack, while Jack accuses Spencer of being too cautious, of letting fear hold him back. It's a heart-wrenching dynamic, Jack, driven by raw emotion and the pain of watching his family suffer, and Spencer, carrying the heavy lessons learned on foreign battlefields. Yet, beneath their disagreements lies a deep, unspoken bond. Both know that, at the end of the day, they're fighting for the same thing: the survival of the Dutton legacy. Meanwhile, Cara becomes the emotional anchor of the family. Her quiet resilience holds everything together, even as the walls close in. She watches Spencer struggle with his demons, offering him the strength that only a true Dutton matriarch can provide. Her wisdom and determination become the glue that binds the family, reminding Spencer that no matter how dark the hour, the Duttons have never been ones to surrender. But even as they prepare for the battles ahead, the danger grows closer. Whitfield's next move isn't just to strike against their land, it's psychological warfare aimed at breaking their spirit entirely. He orchestrates an attack that hits closer to home than ever before. An ambush targets someone the Duttons least expect: a trusted friend, someone they believe to be untouchable falls victim to Whitfield's ruthless campaign. This blow shakes the family to its core, driving home the terrifying reality that Whitfield's reach knows no bounds. The message is clear: no one is safe. This loss becomes a turning point for Spencer. The grief is sharp, but it hardens his resolve. His past might haunt him, but it also prepared him for moments like this, moments when surrender isn't an option, and survival depends on outlasting the pain. Spencer's evolution from a haunted soldier to a determined leader is the heartbeat of this fight. He starts to embrace his role as the protector of the Yellowstone, the one who will stand tall when everyone else is ready to fall. As the Duttons regroup, Spencer devises a bold strategy: a calculated counterattack meant not just to defend their land but to send a clear message to Whitfield: you may have started this war, but we will finish it. With every move, every decision, Spencer begins to reclaim the strength that war had once stolen from him. His burdens haven't disappeared, but now they've become his armor. Every scar, every painful memory, is now a weapon forged in fire, ready to strike back harder than Whitfield could ever imagine. But this is just the beginning. The real war for the Yellowstone is only getting started, and the Duttons are about to show Whitfield that even in their darkest hour, their legacy burns brighter than fear. The aftermath of Whitfield's brutal ambush leaves the Duttons shattered, but for Jack, it does something far more dangerous: it ignites a fury that burns hotter than ever before. Grief turns to rage, and with every heartbeat, his thirst for vengeance grows stronger. Jack isn't just angry, he's ready to go to war. And unlike Spencer, he isn't concerned with strategy or patience. He wants blood. He wants Whitfield to feel the pain he's inflicted on the Dutton family, and he doesn't care what it costs. But rage is a dangerous weapon. It's sharp, unpredictable, and can just as easily cut the one wielding it. Jack's fury becomes a force of nature. His once loyal and passionate heart is now driven by raw emotion, clouding his judgment and pushing him toward reckless decisions. He begins to pull away from the counsel of his family, ignoring Spencer's warnings and dismissing Cara's pleas for restraint. To Jack, every moment spent planning feels like weakness. Every delay is another victory for Whitfield. When Jack decides to take matters into his own hands, his reckless spiral reaches its breaking point. Against Spencer's orders, Jack rallies a group of ranchers' men who are just as angry and desperate for justice. Jack launches a surprise assault on one of Whitfield's outposts with little more than rage and determination, aiming to respond quickly and forcefully. The assault is brutal, raw, and fueled by pure emotion. For a moment, it feels like a victory. The Dutton name sends a clear message to Whitfield's men: the Duttons won't back down. But the victory is short-lived. Jack's impulsive attack triggers a deadly chain reaction. Whitfield, anticipating retaliation, was prepared. The counterattack arrives swiftly and with vengeance. Jack's men, brave as they are, find themselves walking straight into a trap. The result is devastating. Lives are lost, and Jack barely escapes with his own. The young Dutton, who thought his rage could fuel justice, learns a painful lesson: revenge without strategy only leads to more pain. When Jack returns to the Yellowstone, battered and broken, the consequences of his actions are clear for everyone to see. The weight of his failure sits heavily on his shoulders. But the damage isn't just physical, it's emotional. Spencer, who had warned him of the dangers of impulsive retaliation, is furious. Their bond, already strained by the pressure of survival, begins to crack. The confrontation between Spencer and Jack is explosive. Spencer explodes with anger as he laments Jack's carelessness and accuses him of putting the entire family in danger for pride's sake. But Jack, consumed by guilt and anger, fires back, challenging Spencer's authority and questioning whether his caution is just fear disguised as strategy. The two men, both carrying the weight of protecting their family, find themselves at odds. Jack's pain is raw and visible, driven by the belief that every loss suffered by the Duttons is a result of inaction. Spencer, on the other hand, struggles to make Jack understand that survival in this war requires more than just brute force. It demands discipline, patience, and the willingness to endure. But while the Dutton men clash, Cara steps in as the voice of reason. She reminds them both of what's truly at stake. This isn't just about revenge, it's about preserving the legacy that generations of Duttons have built with blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Her words struck a chord, causing Spencer and Jack to confront their own flaws. Amid the family's internal struggles, Whitfield's shadow looms larger than ever. The failed attack only emboldens him, giving him the upper hand in this deadly game of power. He begins to manipulate the legal system, leveraging his influence to place pressure on the Duttons through courts, politicians, and financial institutions. It's a slow, suffocating attack, one that doesn't rely on guns but on the crushing weight of power and corruption. The Duttons, already battered from their losses, find themselves fighting on multiple fronts, defending their land from physical attacks while also trying to outmaneuver Whitfield's legal and financial chokehold. The tension builds, and it becomes clear that every move they make must be precise. The legacy of Yellowstone could be lost if one wrong move is made. Jack, humbled by his failure, begins to understand the importance of strategy. Under Spencer's reluctant mentorship, he starts to learn how to harness his fury into something far more dangerous than reckless revenge: calculated focus and determination. The lessons are harsh, but they forge Jack into a stronger, more disciplined fighter. At the same time, Spencer and Jack begin to rebuild their fractured bond, united by a common goal: protecting their family and destroying Whitfield's grip on Montana. Together, they start to form a plan that's not just about defense, it's about turning the tide of this war. Whitfield, on the other hand, isn't done playing his twisted game, even as the Duttons regroup. In a cruel move, he sets his sights on the heart of the family, someone vulnerable, someone who represents everything the Duttons are fighting for. His next attack isn't meant to destroy them physically, it's meant to break their spirit. As the episode builds toward its chilling climax, one thing becomes painfully clear: this war is far from over. The Duttons have faced loss, betrayal, and devastation, but their darkest hour is still ahead. And when that moment comes, it won't just test their strength, it will test their very will to survive. While Spencer and Jack prepare for the battles ahead, there's another war being waged, one far quieter but just as deadly. Cara Dutton, the true backbone of the family, faces an entirely different battlefield. This isn't a fight fought with guns or fists, it's a battle of influence, diplomacy, and sheer willpower. And in many ways, it's the most dangerous of all. As the head of the household in Jacob's absence, Cara carries the weight of the entire Dutton legacy on her shoulders. Every decision she makes could determine the family's survival, and she knows that one wrong move could cost them everything. With Whitfield tightening his grip on the legal system and using his vast wealth to manipulate judges and politicians, Cara realizes that brute strength alone won't be enough to protect their land. Additionally, this war will be waged behind closed doors, in courtrooms and offices. Determined to shield her family from Whitfield's ever-growing influence, Cara begins to leverage her own power, the deep relationships she's built with Montana's political elite and influential families. She becomes a strategist, forming alliances with those who still value justice and fairness. Every handshake, every whispered conversation, becomes a weapon in her silent war. But Whitfield is relentless. His attacks become more subtle and expand beyond legal disputes to personal resentments. Cara receives anonymous threats meant to shake her resolve. Shadowy figures follow her every move, and the safety of the Dutton household is constantly under siege. Cara continues to remain unbroken despite the fear. She knows that if she falters, the entire Dutton legacy could crumble. Cara makes a bold and risky move as the legal rope gets tighter. She reaches out to an old ally of the Dutton family, a powerful Montanan with the power to oppose Whitfield's dominance in politics. It's a gamble, and the cost of this alliance could be steep. But Cara knows the family's survival may depend on it. At the same time, she becomes the emotional anchor for Spencer and Jack. The two men, still reeling from their own battles and failures, look to Cara for guidance and strength. She reminds them that this fight isn't just about getting back at them, it's also about protecting their future, paying tribute to their ancestors, and making sure the Yellowstone stays in the hands of people who truly appreciate its value.